Welcome to the Symbolic Lodge of Conversation, where consciousness and curiosity interweave into discussion. This is All Square Podcast. I'm your host, R.L. Franks, and today we're going to hear the story of one Mason who's been involved in the Masonic fraternity for over 25 years. He's a past everything. This is the story of worshipful brother Robb Slusser. Robb, thank you for being on the show. Best looking Robb on the show, I have to say. But I really appreciate you reaching out and wanting to tell your story into Masonry.
Well, the thing about it is everybody has a different path that they come in order to become a Mason. Mine was kind of unique. My grandfather, let me tell you a little bit about family history.
Sure.
Grandpa, 60-year Mason, chaplain for 40 some years. His brother passed everything, 33rd degree. Uncle Harold was a 33rd degree. And my other uncle Harold, another Uncle Harold, 33rd degree. So I seen all of my family being involved in the fraternity, and it kind of worked out where there was a youth organization, and I didn't know at the time, but there was a kid, and I'll leave the kid's name out of it, was picking on another kid. And this kid was in DeMolay, and he was picking on him.
And what is DeMolay?
DeMolay is for young men. And it's a subgroup of the Masonic fraternity, and it's for young men to become, better men, in their journey of life. So long story short, this one member of the DeMolay was picking on, one of my classmates, and I told him to stop. He didn't. So I took matters in my own hands. And I wasn't the most upright person. I never was. I always kind of did things my way.
How old were you at the time when this was going on? This was in school?
Fourth grade.
Fourth grade, okay.
Fourth or fifth grade.
All right, kid.
Yeah. So I went up to the kid and I told him to stop, and he spit on me, so I whooped him. And I
don't even think kids nowadays, or young men nowadays, don't even know what whooping is anymore, because...
Well, I took the tutter ball and whooped his butt.
Yeah.
And I had no tolerance for any kind of ignorance. And I learned at a young age that all men are created equal. One of my best friends growing up was an African-American guy from Lima. And one of the first times I saw racism was I was at a racetrack. My dad used to race harness horses, and my friend Keith, I'll say his name, Keith, his dad raced harness horses, and we were playing, doing whatever, at 8, 9 years old, and somebody called him the N-word.
Okay.
And he started crying, and I didn't know what was going on. So we went back to our dads, and my dad was like, "What should you do?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I don't even know what that means."
Sure.
I never heard that word before. My origin, we're Sicilian, German, French, and Sicilian. I never heard that word before. That stuff was never mentioned in the household. My grandpa was old school, but he had respect for everybody.
Nice.
And my dad was like, "Well, you need to go take care of that." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You need to go teach those guys a lesson." So once again, I, had to be the person to hand out the whoopings. But that brought my understanding of that kind of ignorance, to light. And I vowed to myself, and I vowed to Keith and his dad and my dad, that I would never allow that stuff to happen in my life. So about a year later, I asked my grandpa, I said, "Hey, can I join the DeMolays?" He goes, "Well, there's a problem. Remember in fourth grade when you whooped that kid on the playground with the tutter ball? Well, his dad's head of the DeMolays, and he doesn't want you to be there." I said, "No problem." So Fast forward to me moving to the Toledo area. I was a teacher at Wade High School on the east side of Toledo.
Indians.
Yeah, go Indians. And
Are they still the Indians now in today's?
I think so.
I think so.
I don't think they changed it yet.
No.
I'm sure somebody will probably get irritated and they'll have to change it. But long story short, the custodian, African American male, Prince Hall Mason, I seen his ring. I said, "Hey, my grandpa's got a ring just like that." And he took me down to his office. He goes, "Your grandpa's a good man." He goes, "If you ever want to join the fraternity, you let me know." I said, "I do." You know, and
How old are you at this time?
23, 24.
Okay.
And I said, "Well, I want to join your lodge." He goes, "Well, listen," he goes, "your understanding and my understanding are one thing, but our fraternities are not ready for blending as, I'll just say blending."
Sure.
You know, and I said, "Well, I don't understand." He goes, "Well, I have an African American, Prince Hall Masons, and you know, obviously I'm white, you know, however you want to look at it."
Two different Grand Lodge jurisdictions.
Two Grand Lodge jurisdictions, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Both have great relations now, but back in the day, Prince Hall was started by Prince Hall, who was a central figure in starting that and getting camaraderie in the African American community, right? And then there's the Grand Lodge of Ohio, which it started theirs back in the 1800s, sometime in the 1800s.
Yep.
And yeah, they were separate but equal.
Yep.
In a kind of dynamic.
One thing led to another, and he goes, "Hey, I made a phone call for you." This is like 2 days later. Nick Stroh called me up, and he goes, "Hey, I heard you're interested in becoming a Mason." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "We meet on Fridays." And I said, "Well, Fridays don't work for me because I was coaching wrestling at the time."
Your age was, how old were you?
23 or 24.
Okay, 23, 24.
I was a young teacher.
Sure.
You know, and I wanted to take the petition home, a copy of it, and give it to Grandpa for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "Well, let me make a phone call." He called works for Brother Fulton from Northern Light number 40. John Fulton.
Great guy.
John gave me a call. He goes, "Hey, we meet on Tuesdays." I said, "Great, that works." Okay. Went through everything. I didn't know this was going to happen, and I cried. But when I was...
You were crying?
I did cry.
Because?
When I was raised to a Master Mason, my grandpa was the one that raised me.
How beautiful. Not a lot of men get to experience that. I'm trying to bring, to tell my side of it. I was a Mason for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad was very supportive of me, but he was not a member. And the last man I was able to make a Mason was my father. So I understand those emotions.
Well, wait till I tell you this.
Okay.
Okay. So Grandpa raised me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then, and you know how this goes. One of the past masters from Northern Light said, "Hey, we could use your help." I was like, "Oh, great. Let's do it." Okay. The next thing I knew, I was senior steward. Okay. And this is like a year after I was raised.
Yep. You go through the degrees. You're working with, who was your mentor back in those days?
Ted Patton from Prince Hall.
Oh, okay. So we got a little bit of, do you need some water or anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay, cool. I get it, man. These emotions really hit how these men have imprinted on our lives.
So Ted, and I forgot to say this, Ted, every day, like clockwork, he knew when my lunch was. He would come down, he would shut the door, get your book out. Okay? I made a mistake, start over. That's how he taught me.
I think Mike Glue might actually know a little bit of that as he's listening in about me being his mentor, but please.
So Ted was there when I was raised. And then as I went through my stations, as an officer, I was senior deacon.
Okay.
My father had the opportunity to join Slina Lodge numerous times. And one day I was home and he goes, son, and my dad doesn't talk. He doesn't hardly say anything.
Uh-huh.
Son, I like what this fraternity's doing for you. I want to join. I said, okay. I said, let me call Grandpa. He goes, no, I want to join your lodge.
So he's in Lima, just for some context for the audience, right? So your family's from Lima. Your grandfather's from Lima.
120 miles away from Toledo.
Is that how far it is?
Yeah.
Okay. And your father says, son, I've watched you.
Yeah.
And I like what this fraternity is instilling in you.
Yep.
I want to join Freemasonry. Great. I'll get a hold of Grandpa. No, I want to join your lodge. That's pretty powerful.
So folks, imagine this, okay? And I'm just going to break it down real to you, okay? Imagine going to a stone quarry and busting up some rocks. And they come out all jagged, okay? That's what a beginning mason is, okay? And then you can sculpt it and try to get to like a square rock. That's the end result that a mason wants to be. And I'm still working towards that, but I am a lot better than I was when I first started. So let's get back on track here.
Sure.
Okay, Dad said, hey, I want to join your lodge. And I said, no shit. I said, Dad, I'll get you the petition. I said, but let me make sure Grandpa's not irritated by that. He goes, I think that's a good idea. That's what my grandpa said. So got Dad to petition. And I can't remember. I think Mike Fortress was, Mike Fortress was the master of Northern Light at the time. He goes, you need to do the degree work on your dad. I said, okay. So I called Ted up. I said, Ted, I need some cramming. This is what's going to happen. He goes, I will be there. So I learned the 3 degrees and performed all 3 degrees on my father and got to raise my father. And to put, in 2007, fast forward a couple more years, my dad was my chaplain. And having him beside me, I don't know if anybody can relate to this, but to know that he joined the fraternity because of what the fraternity was doing for you. And then he wanted to be your chaplain. And that year we were crazy busy.
How so?
21, we raised 21 Master Masons, and 17 went through the 1-day class. It was a crazy year. I mean, we were busy. We had meetings almost every Tuesday. We'd have, stated meetings, cut them short, do degree work. I mean, we came through, we brought a lot of people through. And my dad was at every meeting. Every week he would drive up and he would sit there with me. On a degree works, Right Worshipful Brother French would come in and help me out, with some of the degree works, because my dad didn't really have the memory knowledge that he needed to do that.
Sure.
But yeah, that was a great experience. And then the next year, I was president of the district. And
you're past president of the 11th Masonic District, which is the district in one of the districts in Northwest Ohio.
Yeah. So when I was senior warden, a past Grand Master, CM, said to me, he goes, hey, we need some help in the district. And I said, what you need? It's one of those guilt things. What you need? A Mason will always say, if a Mason is going to be a true Mason, they'll always say, what you need. And
I understand completely.
And he said, we need some help in the district. And I said, okay, what's that entail? He goes, well, you got different kind of functions you got to go to. You got, go to inspections. And it was a trying 2 years. But when I was first vice, I got Mark Bolick. I got Mark Bolick to come on board.
Which is a member of Rubicon Lodge.
Yep. And Mark and I became best friends. And When I was president, we got Isaac on board, and Isaac Demarest.
He's a member of another lodge
Yeah.
in the 11th Masonic District, Robinson Lock.
Yep.
So you go from getting involved, working your way to be a worshipful master.
Mm-hmm.
Your father is right next to you up there after you raised him. The election comes around, and he's now your chaplain.
Yep.
Been with you by your side throughout your whole life. Now you're getting to experience this journey into Masonry. What does that mean to a man who is 20? How old were you at the time when you were worshipful? 20-some?
27 or 28.
28. 24 is when you join. 23, 24 is when you join. 28, and by the way, that's a fast track to become the head of a lodge.
It was.
What does that mean to you?
Well, so this is no disrespect, Robbie.
Of course.
Okay.
This is
times
a free forum.
Times are different.
Okay.
Okay. Times are different now than they were then. Okay. We didn't have a repeat past master for 60 some years at Northern Light. Okay. There were certain expectations that the past masters had upon the masters. Okay. There were certain expectations, and not only did I have the expectations from them, the past masters, my two Masonic fathers were illustrious brother Ted Patton and most worshipful brother Robb Rill. And those two working with me and trying to mold me to be a better man worked, and so it was, times has changed since the 2000s. Mm-hmm. Okay. When I was asked to be an officer, man, it was a freaking honor. It was a damn honor to sit in that chair. Man, you sat in that chair and you got to do stuff for the lodge. Man. And I told my grandpa, he goes, wow. He goes, I can't believe you're an officer already.
Right.
And then when I think I was junior deacon and I gave my first lecture.
And that shows your dedication. A lecture is a 15, sometimes 20-page in code that you have to cipher off, and it correlates to the degree work to become a Mason. For you, your lodge saw your dedication. There's a lot of guys who just float through the chairs in Masonry, and they don't even know what they're even got themselves into, because they don't prepare, they don't dedicate themselves to the service of the lodge.
Yep.
But in a lot of times when a guy floats through the lodge, officer seats, they don't even have the respect of the lodge behind them. But you, for the short time, the express time that you went from, what chair did you sit in to start with?
Senior deacon.
Senior deacon. Just for all the Masons that watch, any Mason that's been a senior deacon knows that is a moving part in a fraternity, in the lodge room.
Yeah.
For you to go there, show your dedication, keep working, you're getting that excitement. You're getting that brotherhood fired up to support you.
The thing about it is, I noticed the change that the fraternity was doing for me. It was making me, there's certain things you can't take away from me, and you never will,
Sure.
But to make a man better by surrounding oneself with like-minded individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I need to repeat that. Okay. There's that saying, the sum of five. Okay. If you surround yourself with 5 millionaires, okay, you're going to be the sixth.
Mm-hmm.
If you surround yourself with 5 crackheads, you're going to end up doing crack someday. Okay. It's a simple thing to it. And I surrounded myself with inspirational men, with men that had values beyond values that I ever knew. Okay. My mom and dad and my grandma and grandpa instilled values upon me, but the values that I was learning from the fraternity took me another step up.
Yep. I get it. And, life is an interesting game. You're not always dealt with the right cards you need to build yourself up. Right. And some guys don't get that beautiful home, people looking out for them. They have to make do with what the cards they have in their hand, and they got to swap cards out and make sacrifices to build that hand, to build their life. But you were very blessed to have something like that, and you had a metanoia moment that I'm gonna give back for what everybody gave me. And that's so, I think that's very rare in today's society, where all people want in society is now. What's in it for me? What am I entitled? Right?
There's so many people that think that they're entitled to stuff.
Right.
And I this is no disrespect to anybody.
Sure.
But you're not entitled to stuff. I'm trying to keep it G-rated, y'all. Okay? But you're not entitled to anything. You got to work your butt off to get stuff that you like and adore in order to get to that next level. Because you know what? It doesn't matter how much stuff you have during your life. Because it doesn't matter how the ground doesn't care how much you have when you die and you go into the ground. Okay? I believe in God, so I'll say this. God doesn't care how much material things you have. He cares about the values that you learn along life. Okay? And if you can make yourself better throughout your journey of life by whatever means you can, then do it. The Masonic fraternity can make men better. It can make families better. It can make young ladies and young men better. It can make society better. And the thing about it is, people will say this, that, and the other about the Masonic fraternity. Yeah, okay. You can say whatever you want to, but dive into the history of what the Masonic fraternity has done for the United States and the world, and then strict judgment upon that.
So let's go into that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of anti-Masonic rhetoric out here. We had a past master in Texas that lost his life. There is one of the Scottish Rite buildings got firebombed. There's death threats that have happened right here in Northwest Ohio at a one-day class. In the United States, we take privileges of being a Mason because we're able to show it off. There's places in the world where it's underground.
There is. I was in a country called St. Lucia.
Okay.
And when I was there, I was fishing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hot. I mean, St. Lucia is hot. I took my shirt off, and I have Masonic tattoos. Okay? At the time, I had the Scottish Rite double-headed eagle on my chest, square and compasses, and the all-seeing-eye on my shoulder. I took my shirt off. The boat came to a complete stop.
As much as it can in water.
Yeah, as much as it can. You can't just stop it and,
drifting.
Right. The captain came down, and he goes like this. Come here. And I went up to him. He goes, put your shirt on. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, we can't advertise. I will talk to you on shore. There's some countries, that can't advertise that they are a part of a wonderful fraternity. The oldest and largest fraternity, for that matter.
Why do people fear Masonry? Why do people fear the unknown?
From the lack of knowledge. Why do people fear stuff? Why do people fear ghosts? Why do people fear the government? Why do people fear other things that's going on in society? From the lack of knowledge. Before you can strike judgment upon any kind of situation, you should really know your facts.
Well, there are some religious institutions tell their congregations, you can't be a member. You can't be part of this Masonic fraternity.
Yeah.
But being a Catholic, which is what I am, but we have this Knights of Columbus. You can be a part of that. That's no problem. Why do people and organizations tell their membership, don't be a Freemason? You can't be a Freemason.
My opinion, jealousy.
Jealousy, okay, that's different.
I mean, honestly, why would another organization tell their members that they cannot be a member of something else.
Could because they're worried that they're going to take time away from the church and devote their time into this brotherhood with their charities, their organizations. And maybe they're worried about, because, right now we're in a weird flux with institutional religions in our country. I think that's probably happening around in some parts of the world. People are finding more spirituality in the fraternity, but they're not in other things in life and other practices in life, Eastern thought, some other parts of Western thought.
Yeah.
And I think a priest said this to me one time. He said, I think institutional religions like Catholicism what we're going to be is a safe haven for people who are wandering, trying to find a place.
Yeah.
And people are looking for that. For what somebody isn't religious, they may be more spiritual, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a big fear in institutional religions, that, oh no, our flock is looking somewhere else instead of listening to us. They like to not even sometimes think that they're flawed. Or because men run this, or some women in some religious institutions.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a big fear for institutional religions, because they want to have everybody there as active, giving every Sunday as much as they can to the church to sustain themselves.
There's a saying, jealousy and envy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, will bring people to their knees. Okay, some, and I'm not saying this. This is just Robb Slusser's opinion. There's some organizations that are so jealous, fearful, and envious of what the Masonic fraternity, can do for a family, that I think that strikens them to the gut, that they don't want people to belong to that.
I can find relief here. I can find,
right.
These people can find relief there. No, we're the voice of reason. We'll provide you that relief.
Things have changed. You know what? When I started teaching in 1997, one of the old teachers said, love all the kids for who they are in your classroom, not for what they do outside. And I lost a lot of kids on the east side. And then I was a principal at Woodward High School in the north end of Toledo. And I lost a lot of kids there, either to death or to the penal system. But I always judged the child upon how they acted towards me in my classroom or building.
Mm-hmm.
I always had a saying when I was a teacher: I don't care if you worship God, Buddha. I don't care if you worship light, sound, colors. I don't care if you date a guy, girl, a fluffy white dog. It doesn't matter to me. Okay, what matters to me is how you are towards me as the instructor of this classroom or as the principal of the building. The thing about it is, so many things have changed. People get butthurt so easy anymore. And that's just being political in my sense. Mm-hmm. People get so hurt by what they see. You know what? Every vehicle I have has a past master's emblem on it. You know why? Because I'm proud of it. Back to what you said, I dare somebody come up to me. Okay? I'll give them my address. They want to talk to me about the Masonic fraternity, we'll have a come to Jesus moment. Okay? That's just the way it is. Don't tell me what I can do. Okay, I won't tell you what you can do. You don't tell me what I can do. And for the brethren out there that's having issues, give me a call. I'll come out and see you. I'll help you out. That's no problem with me. I still have those old habits once in a while.
Hey, we got to circumscribe our desires and keep our passions within due bounds. Now,
I know that.
Now, in Masonry's teachings and principles really reflect that.
Yeah.
Now, your wife, how long have you and your wife been together?
Well, Jennifer and I have been together for 8 years, 7 years, 6.
She's signing out there.
6. I said 6.
6. That's what he
Okay.
said. We'll make the
But
edit. No.
I've known her since junior high school. And her and I have been friends all through junior high school and all through high school. Her and I was voted biggest flirts in our class.
That's fine.
And then after graduation of high school, she went to Ashland. I went to Findlay. She ran track. I wrestled. And we just lost contact with each other for 6 years, something like that. And then she started stalking me on Facebook. I'm just joking, honey.
Everybody's cracking up. We actually have an audience today in the studio.
We connected on Facebook, and then her and I just kind of took off and just kind of like peas and carrots, kind of like, Bubba Gump and Jenny.
It's so beautiful to see your wife support you. Coming from a single guy who's had relationships and, those relationships didn't last. The modern woman is different from the women of old who were more servitude to their husbands. And what does she think of this organization? Because she's outside looking in, even though she's been in and seen you at events, conduct yourself. Like, what does she see?
Can I come back to that?
Sure.
Okay, so when I was master, I got to bring this up.
Okay.
Illustrious Brother Patton was at my inspection along with about 15 other Prince Hall Masons, including Most Worshipful Brother Willis, which was the Grand Master at the time.
Hopefully I'll get him on the show here soon. I will
make sure that happens. I will call him up.
Thank you.
I'll call Reverend Willis up.
I would really appreciate that.
But the funny thing is, Most Worshipful Brother Willis and Illustrious Brother Patton came up to me afterwards. Excellent job, Worshipful. You missed 2 words. Okay, so back to my learning in trying to be a perfectionist in the lodge. Okay, carried on to what I do in society, what I do in my profession, what I try to do in my relationship. Okay, not only am I a past master in 2009, I was past illustrious master of council.
So that's just for some clarification, I'll do that real quick.
Yep.
So Masonry, we've always talked before, is a tree, your home lodge, where everything starts as your blue lodge, and then much like a tree, there's many branches. Yep. And chapter, council, and commandery are on the York-Rite branch.
Yep.
And there's a lot more degrees, a lot more education, fellowship, camaraderie, ritual.
Yep.
In that degree, but it's heavily focused on a Christian organization of the fraternity, even though Masonry is universal.
Yep.
There you go.
So I did the York-Rite. So in 10, I was illustrious master. I'm sorry. In 9, I was illustrious master. 10 or 11, I was high priest of Fort Miami, Calumet. And then in 14, I was Emmett Commander of St. Omar's.
Oh, we're both St. Omar members.
Yeah. So I just wanted to bring that up, about Ted and about me being, in York-Rite. And I've always done Scottish Rite stuff. Mm-hmm. Okay. Scottish Rite, I love the theatrics and the degrees for Scottish Rite. And some of y'all might be watching this, but my favorite part to do is in the 32nd, and it's Florio. It's not my character. But it's something where I can impromptu and have some fun.
Sure. It's a very passionate character that reflects that in the degree.
Yeah.
For as much as we can talk about.
Yep. And I can't even tell you how many parts I've done in Scottish Rite. And this past year, I was appointed to consistory line for Chancellor. Yep. So that's a good thing. Now, let me fast forward to the question that you asked.
Sure.
When I was asked to be an officer for Scottish Rite, I sat down with Jennifer and I said, this is an honor. And this is why it's an honor. Okay. Based upon my teachings from my grandfather and everybody else that had a Masonic influence on me, there's opportunities that, could assist me in becoming a better person, a better man, a better husband, a better father to my daughter. And I said, but if you're not in support of this, I said, this will cost me to be away from the house. I will have to go to some meetings and some reunions, and I will have to do some other extra stuff. And I said, but if you're not in support of it, I said, I completely understand, and I'll tell them no. And Jen looked at me, she goes, as long as I can go to some things and be around some folks, and if it makes you a better person, then I'm in favor of it.
And I've seen that both when we are at your lodge's annual pancake breakfast, which has raised over $200,000 in charity for kidney disease, correct?
Yep.
A man who went through kidney failure.
Yep.
Very much appreciative of that. To when we go to another charity event, the Rose Society, I mean, I see her with you. I see that pride in
Yep.
her man and what this fraternity has done. And you carry yourself so well from a guy who's just a young man in the fraternity that I got to watch you in certain steps, because our circles never really got to really pass with each other, except just recently, which I'm very grateful for.
Right. When my daughter Isabella was born in 13,
Sweetheart.
I had one more year in line for commandery, and I did that. And then afterwards, I took a hiatus. I had to be a dad.
Sure.
And I even had to step away from the educational profession to be a dad, because I was working 80 hours a week with education.
And what was it like being a young man with a kid, trying to raise your daughter, making sure you're instilling the same principles and teachings that you received from your family? I mean, in today's society, no less.
Well, from an early age, I have incorporated positive thoughts in my daughter. I listen to motivational speaking, which is not part of the fraternity, but it builds the foundation to be a better person. And one of my favorite all-time speakers is Eric Thomas.
Oh, great guy, hip hop preacher.
Yeah, Eric Thomas. He says three things: I can, I will, I must. So when Isabella was 2, I started teaching her that. Every day I drop her off at her mom's, I said, Isabella, she goes, I know, Dad, I can, I will, I must. And I'm awesome, and I'm beautiful, and I'm intelligent. And, I put that in her head because I seen what the negative side of society has done to kids. Okay. You're a piece of, okay.
Cyberbullying.
You're no good.
Cyberbullying.
Cyberbullying and all this other stuff that's going on. Okay. If I can incorporate positive values that I've learned along the way from fraternity and from other things, then I'm going to put that in my daughter. My daughter's a beast. Okay. She is 10 years old, almost throwing 45 miles per hour for softball. But more importantly, she conducts herself as a leader. Okay. And that's what we lack in society anymore. We don't have enough natural born leaders in society. And I'm not saying that the fraternity can teach you to be a leader, but it doesn't hurt any when you put yourself in situations where you are forced to step up and be in a leadership role and learn how to adapt to diversity. I'm just doing everything I possibly can to make each and every day better.
Sure.
For her, for Jennifer, for my parents, which is still alive, 83 and 81, I think. Okay. They've been married for almost 65 years. My grandparents have passed away, but I always try to do as much as I possibly can to bring kindness to every person that comes in my life during that day. And I'm trying to instill those values into my daughter. There was a situation about a year ago. My daughter had a situation at school. one of her friends was being mean.
Sure.
And she's like, Dad, what do I do? And I'm like, well, you can't handle it like I used to, honey. Okay, you'll go to the principal's office and you'll get suspended. I said, so what do you think you need to do? She goes, I need to talk to the person that's being mean and tell them that they're being mean. I said, that's a leader. Okay, that's what you need to do as a leader. You need to converse with people in the best way you possibly can to make the situation better.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful.
I'm just trying, man.
Hey, we're all trying.
Yes, sir.
Right? But, it's our actions that make us do in what counts instead of just thinking about it and just, I'll take care of it the next time it arises. You actually put actions forward and make them work.
That's right.
In today's society. Is Masonry necessary in today's society?
Yes. I 100% agree.
Can it make a man truly better?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so one thing about me I didn't say before. I was a bouncer. Okay.
I'm not surprised.
I worked in probably 10 clubs in the Toledo area. I was head bouncer at like 3 or 4 of them. And the thing about it was I didn't talk about it. I just reacted upon the situation. And if I had to whoop somebody's rear, I whooped somebody's rear. Okay. And then with Charlie Murphy and Rob Rill and John Stone and Ted Patton working with me along the way, it made me into a better person. Now, I'm not saying that the fraternity can do that with every person.
Right.
Okay. But if it goes back to that sum of 5, if you surround yourself with 5 like-minded individuals that, have the same common goal in their existence, they're going to push you to be that 6th person, to be that great man, that great husband, that great father, that great friend, that great brother. I was in a fraternity in college. It's nothing like the Freemasons.
No, right. 100%.
It's nothing like it. There was a lot of things in my fraternity that was similar because I went through the chairs there, but it was nothing compared to the accountability that other brothers hold on you.
Well said, man. Well said. Are you seeing, with your 25 years experience, are you seeing men today in the fraternity becoming leaders? Throughout your travels in the fraternity, are you seeing guys doing that good work?
I don't politically know how to say that
Okay.
so I don't offend people, but I honestly,
this is your opinion.
This is my opinion.
Doesn't reflect the Grand Lodge or any Grand Body.
No, this doesn't. I see some people just getting in an office just to be in office, not to assume the responsibility of the office. That's the difference. Okay, you can be an officer. Okay, you can be a congressperson, a state representative, but if you don't do jack stuff for your constituents, then you're not living up to what that office needs to be held accountable for. If you're in an office in a Masonic fraternity and you're not living up to the expectations that your past masters and your lodge is holding you, then all you're doing is taking up a chair. And I hate to say it like that, but that's the truth. And that's what I see. I started traveling again this last couple years, and I seen that, and it breaks my freaking heart. If you don't want to be an officer, don't be an officer. Don't go out there and do stuff half-heartedly. Okay? Go out there and go balls to the wall on every situation that you do. And if you don't want to do it, and let's say you're just doing it just to fill the chair, don't do it. Okay? Because it hurts the fraternity. Bottom line.
Yep. I hear some applause out
There's
there.
somebody clapping out there. I'm sure there's going to be somebody calling me up, be like, what the hell are you talking about?
No. It's the experience that shapes us, right? In the fraternity.
It does.
I've had guys who, like I said, just float around through the chairs. And I've also seen some guys who are really here who want to open themselves up for constructive criticism to become better and be better leaders both in the fraternity and outside into the community.
Robbie, I gave this last couple of years, I gave my phone number out to some people coming through trying to get their degrees. I said, call me up anytime. I said, I don't need a book. I said, I can walk you through. I said, all you got to do is just tell me what you're doing. And I said, I just got to think a little bit. I pretty much have the whole book in my head.
Yeah.
That's the way I was taught. And only one out of the 5 people that I gave, my number 2, took me up on that.
But sometimes it's that one.
It's the one.
It's the one that's going to make a difference.
Yep.
It's going to be that leader tomorrow who's going to inspire others to do those good works.
Yeah. All you can do in life, and all you can do in life itself is get up every morning. Thank God that you woke up and you remember who the hell you are. That's number 1. Number 2, when your feet hit the ground, thank God again, because you're able to move and you remember who you are. Thank God again. Okay. And I'm not trying to be all, biblical and religious here, but I'm just going on how I see things, and you go and walk and act accordingly to your expectations of yourself. Okay. And you go about your day and you do your necessary vocations, your 8 hours of vocations. Okay. And you do as best as you possibly can for that given day. At the end of the day, okay, you do your other vocations and rest and refreshment. You got to just say, at the end of the day, you got to be like, God, thank you for a great day. Because you know what? There's other people out there that didn't have that day. They woke up, they didn't know who the hell they were. They didn't have a house. They didn't have a roof. They didn't have food. They're not able to walk. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with any of those situations. But if you got certain things in your life, be happy about it. And along the way, if you can make yourself better and you can make your family better and you can make those around you better, roll with it. Don't listen to the naysayers saying, oh, that's a cult. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Whatever. Okay, tell me something that hasn't been in history of the United States that didn't kind of relate to a situation like this. Okay, from the founding fathers to now, there's always been organizations that govern and rule society. That's just the way it is. And if you think it's otherwise, then you're foolish. You watch the news now, and I'm not a political person. I really am not. And I rightfully don't give 2 stuffs about politics. I don't. But I was watching it today, and Jen and I was watching the news this morning. And there's evidence in regards to the situation from Georgia. Do you think anything's going to happen to that? Probably not. But it's the pomp and circumstance and the parade that needs to be done to hold people accountable. And some people in those situations, they don't hold themselves accountable. You better believe every day I wake up, I look myself in the mirror and I hold myself accountable.
We're coming up to our time. This is
Are
just
we really
flying by. I know, right?
No shit.
No
stuff.
It's been such a entertaining conversation. I can't wait to get you back on the show if you would want to come back on.
It's up to you, man.
But man, there's a man looking for something in his life right now. Could be a spiritual journey, could be a new religion, could be this fraternity. What would you say to that person?
Believe in you. Believe in your values. Believe in your family and believe in the teachings that you are trying to teach people about your progress in life. Don't be fake. Don't be ignorant. Don't be selfish. Okay? Just be the best version of yourself that you possibly can be on every given day. And if you're not, shame on you. That's all I got to say, brother.
That is worshipful brother Robb Slusser, a Mason, a family man, a friend, and a brother. I'm R.L. Franks, and you are all square.